The Lost Boys capture something that very few pieces of media ever have for me. There's an energy in this film, a senseless feeling of fun, and while most of the characters are searching for a place to belong, the focus of the entire movie is freedom. There's freedom in finding belonging, in pursuing curiosities and love, and not knowing what will happen tomorrow, so choosing instead to live today and tonight to its fullest. There's also freedom in subscribing, so if you like this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. The music in this movie is perfect. We get songs that set the tone of scenes, whether the moments are uncertain and a bit lonely with Echo and the Bunnymen's People Are Strange, or carefree and energetic with Run DMC's Walk This Way. But the clear star of the film is its theme song, titled Cry Little Sister, which is emotional and atmospheric, with lyrics that are very meaningful for almost every moment in this film. It's one of the best themes I've heard in a film, and it gives me the goosebumps every time I listen to it.
Broken walls that scream I hear. Cry, little sister. Come to your brother.
We open to see a group of hooligans causing mayhem on a merry-go-round. These are the Lost Boys, and while the film isn't told through their perspective, the fact that the movie is titled after them hints that they are who the film is actually about. We've got David, Paul, Dwayne, and Marco. A security guard kicks the boys out, but once his shift ends, we see something swoop from the sky and carry the man away. We then meet the main character, Michael, and his younger brother Sam just as they move to Santa Carla. Due to their mother Lucy's divorce, the family is forced to move in with their grandfather, but they do their best to make light of the situation, and how could they not when during their very first night they get to see this dude perform. At this concert, Michael catches the eye of a pretty girl, but she runs off into the crowd. Sam wanders into a comic book shop where he has a brief nerd-off with the local nerds known as the Frog Brothers.
Where the hell are you from? Krypton?
Nerds! Get out of here!
He passes their test, and they reward him with a comic book, stating that reading it could save his life someday. At the same time, Lucy is out looking for a job and finds a help wanted sign posted outside of a store owned by a man named Max. They hit it off immediately, and she's hired and agrees to go out to dinner with him as well. Michael follows the girl through the fairgrounds, but she ends up hopping onto the back of David's motorcycle, and she's swept off into the night. We get a quick scene of a couple getting terrorized by a flying something, and whatever it is strong enough to rip off the car's roof and carry them off into the night. The next night, Michael is wandering around the boardwalk again when the girl he was chasing finds him and introduces herself as Star. He asks her to go grab something to eat, but is stopped by the Lost Boys. Star hops on David's bike and he challenges Michael to keep up with them before zooming through the beach.
I can't beat your bike.
You don't have to beat me, Michael. You just have to try and keep up.
The race is carefree and exhilarating. The Lost Boys clearly don't care about danger, and by being so reckless, they force Michael to join in their antics. The boys take Michael to their base, which is an old abandoned resort. While eating, David tells Michael that he's eating maggots and then worms, and for a few moments it does seem like his food has come alive and it begins to wriggle around, but after a glance, the food again appears normal, and it's clear that something strange is going on. This whole night Michael has been oddly agreeable to the suggestions of the Lost Boys, almost hypnotically going with the flow of their chaos and never questioning where they're leading him or why they've agreed to let him join in their night of fun. But as David drinks from a bottle of what appears to be wine, his suggestions come to a final command.
Drink some of this, Michael. Be one of us.
And despite Star's warning, Michael drinks deeply from the bottle.
It's blood.
Michael.
Yeah, sure.
We cut to see Sam reading through the vampire comic, and this is the final clue in the surmounting questions that the film has put in front of us. It all begins to make sense as we remember the flying creatures, the way the Lost Boys don't care about danger or even life itself, the hypnotic state that Michael was in, and especially Star's warning of the bottle containing blood. It becomes clear that the Lost Boys aren't human at all, and David's invitation for Michael to become one of them suddenly has a terrifying connotation. We see Michael continue to drink from the bottle as his night becomes foggy and dreamlike. After a few hours, the Lost Boys take him to a bridge. He watches as one by one the boys jump and hang from the beams underneath, dangling over a fog-filled ravine. Listening to their urging cheers, Michael jumps down as well, joining in their death-defying game.
Fine, man.
A train then rumbles over the bridge, causing the boys to fall one by one, and David shouts at Michael to let go, saying that now he's one of them, so there's nothing to fear. Despite their impossible fall, Michael can hear the boys shouting his name and encouraging him to let go, and eventually his grip slips. He plummets into the fog and then loses consciousness, waking up sometime later with a pounding headache and an odd sensitivity to sunlight.
How could this happen to me?
Sam notes that Michael has been having a bad attitude lately and hasn't been acting like himself in general, but in the middle of their conversation, lights and wind roar from outside, and they can hear the Lost Boys shouting Michael's name. However, when Michael opens the door, the noise suddenly stops, and there's no one there. While Sam is taking a bath, Michael grabs his chest in pain. He stumbles up the stairs and is about to enter the bathroom in some kind of animalistic daze, but the family dog jumps on him and tackles him out of the room, biting a chunk out of his hand. Sam asks why the dog would do that, and Michael says that he was protecting Sam from him. The boys then notice Michael's reflection in the mirror is beginning to fade, and Sam realizes that his brother is turning into a creature of the night. Sam rushes to his room and calls the Frog Brothers. He tells them that Michael is a vampire, and they quiz him to make sure that Sam isn't delusional. They advise Sam to put a stake through Michael's heart, but Sam could never do that to his brother, so the nerds hang up and say that it's his funeral. After going to bed, Michael wakes up on the ceiling. He can't control his flight, and he begins to drift out the window, but he holds on to a corded phone to keep himself from flying away. He begs Sam to open the window for him, and eventually he does, as Michael seems genuinely afraid. Michael promises that they're in this together and they'll figure out what to do. Michael then heads to the Lost Boys base where he finds Star. She doesn't know how to help him, so she does the next best thing, and they begin to smooch. When he wakes up the next morning, Michael realizes that the dog bite on his hand is completely healed. Sam goes back to the Frog Brothers and they discuss what the comic book says about half vampires. He figures Michael isn't a full vampire yet because he can still walk in the sunlight, and he has a partial reflection, and as long as he doesn't feed on human blood, he will stay in the half vampire state. The comic book says that if they can kill the head vampire, then all half vampires will return to their human form. This comic also says something about hounds from hell being used to protect vampires, and this becomes important in the literal next scene of the movie. Lucy and Sam go to visit Max, but his dog goes absolutely ballistic for no reason. They shout for Max to come out and help them, but the store owner never comes out of his house. Sam and the Frog Brothers surmise that Max must be the head vampire because he has a protective hellhound, and he must have been asleep since they went to visit in the daylight, and the Frog Brothers agree to help Sam check him out. It just so happens that Lucy is having Max over for dinner that night, but he refuses to come in until Michael invites him, adding to the suspicion. Sam has the Nerd Brothers over to join them for dinner, but Michael heads out because he's got plans and obviously a lot on his mind. The dinner is pretty funny, as the boys trick Max into eating pure garlic before spilling holy water all over him. Max is completely unaffected by their efforts, and even shows that he has a reflection when a mirror is shoved into his face. Max assumes that Sam is just acting out because he's afraid that Max is replacing his father, so he politely leaves and invites Lucy over to his house the following night for dinner. Michael meets up with David and the boys, and they take him into the middle of nowhere, where a group of people are drinking and dancing around a fire. As they're watching the group, David says that Michael's initiation is over. His and all of the boys' faces morph into their vampiric forms, and they rush at the dancing group and begin to tear them limb from limb and feed on their blood. When he sees the blood, Michael's eyes change as well, but he's able to pull himself away from the viscera.
You'll never grow old, Michael. And you'll never die. But you must feed.
Michael heads home to speak with Sam, but Star shows up just outside their window. She jumps into the room, showing that she is also a half-vampire, and tells Michael that he was supposed to be her first kill and her first feeding. She begs Michael for help before vanishing again into the night. Something that is fairly subtle in this movie, but hard to be subtle about in a story breakdown like this, is Grandpa. I'll plant a few seeds here, and you'll understand why it's important in a little while. As soon as Max comes over for the dinner date, Grandpa begins to act strange. In a few scenes, we see Grandpa driving a luxury car around, but after this night, his vehicle of choice changes to a truck that seems like it would have fit in a war setting, and we see him repairing a wooden fence around his property, but instead of normal-looking fence posts, the large wooden beams are sharpened at one end. Like I said, these few moments are subtle and don't seem important at first glance, but they show that Grandpa isn't as oblivious to the situation as he may originally appear. In the morning, Sam calls the Frog Brothers over and has Michael drive them all to the vampire base so that they can track down the head vampire. Michael works on getting Star and another half-vampire named Laddie into his car to take them home, where he can protect them, while Sam and the Frog Brothers head deep into the abandoned resort and find the Lost Boys sleeping and hanging from the rafters. The nerds climb and actually manage to stake and kill Marco.
You did me!
His death causes a reaction that wakes up all of the other vampires. The boys run and the vamps chase them, nearly getting Sam, but as he retreats into the sunlight, David's hand bursts into flame and they get away. Knowing that the vampires will be coming for them that night, Sam and the nerds begin to arm up. They head to the church and fill canteens with holy water, which they then pour into a bathtub and toss dozens of garlic cloves into that concoction. They fill their water pistols with the vampire-killing spray and get Grandpa out of the house before blocking off the doors and the windows. As the sun goes down, we see David and the boys wake up from their sleep and fly out of their base, and the assault begins. Chaos ensues instantly as Dwayne bursts through the fireplace and knocks out Michael, which causes the Frog Brothers to retreat upstairs. I guess they forgot that vampires can fly because none of the windows upstairs are blocked off, which allows Paul to cut off the fleeing brothers as they try to get away. Paul corners the brothers in the bathroom, but Sam's dog tackles him into the bath filled with vampire-killing juice, which causes his body to melt. He emerges as a skeleton for a moment before the pipes all around the house burst with bloody water, and Paul officially dies. Downstairs, Dwayne grabs Sam, but the boy is ready for the attack. Sam blasts the vamp with his water pistol and shoots him with an arrow.
You miss, sucker!
With his second arrow, Sam hits his mark and takes the vampire out in an explosion of sparks and, unfortunately, copyrighted music, so I can't play you the clip. Michael wakes up and he hears David taunting him from the shadows.
Tried to make you immortal.
You tried to make me a killer!
David swoops in for a few quick attacks, but as Michael begins to fly, he meets the final Lost Boy in the air.
Join us.
Never!
They fly through the room and exchange blows, but the fight is pretty short. Michael flips David around in the air and impales him on some antlers, killing who they thought was the head vampire. The use of music here is so perfect as Michael tries to deal with what he's done. Even though David was a monster and a killer, Michael knew him enough to see a bit past his monstrous facade. By killing the boy, Michael is forced to deal with the fact that he let his vampire instincts take over, even if it was as he was fighting for his life. and now in his eyes, he is a killer. All of the Lost Boys are dead. However, Michael and Star realize that they don't feel any different, even though they've taken out all of the vampires that they know of, leading them to the conclusion that the head vampire must still be alive. We see Lucy come home early from her date with Max. Sam and the Frog Brothers distract Lucy, but Max wanders into the house where he finds David's body and recognizes him. Everyone comes together, and Star accuses Max of being the secret that David had been keeping. Max doesn't deny it. He says that David and his boys were always under his protection, and he was just looking for a mother that could help raise them properly. He was trying to get Michael and Sam to join in his coven, knowing that Lucy would have no choice but to turn as well, as her children would have been immortal, and any mother would make that choice to stay with their kids, even if it meant becoming a vampire. He reveals that by being invited into the house, the effects of holy water became useless against him, and he was able to keep up his human facade to the point that even his reflection seemed to be there. He turns, his face warping into a vampiric form. They all try to attack the Max vampire, but are completely outmatched and thrown around the room.
Don't fight, Lucy. It's so much better if you don't fight.
Mom!
Just before Max bites Lucy, a car horn sounds from outside, and Grandpa rams his truck through the house, causing a large log to fly from his truck, where it impales Max and causes him to explode. Michael and Star immediately know that they are no longer vampiric, and the family embrace.
One thing about living in Santa Carla I never could stomach. All the damn vampires.
And that is where The Lost Boys ends. This movie is really something special. It takes the concept of vampires and the setting of a murder-filled Santa Carla, but instead of focusing on the dreary themes of death and blood, it chooses to follow and explore teenage rebellion and the search for belonging. And let's face it, that's what being a teenager is all about. That gnawing feeling of not quite fitting in, of being on the outside looking in. Michael embodies this struggle perfectly. Sure, he might have been partially charmed into following the Lost Boys, but it's crystal clear that he's uncertain about his place in life right from the get-go. He's left behind all of his friends, uprooted his life, and moved into a new city. Naturally, he feels like an outsider. Then he sees the Lost Boys. These guys radiate a carefree attitude that's beyond enviable for him. They're as close as family and seem to shrug off the concerns of life like it's nothing. No wonder Michael is intrigued. He's drawn to their tight-knit camaraderie, their frivolous approach to existence. He wants to know why they are the way that they are, why they've embraced this path, and he's willing to follow them just to get a taste of what they have. But here's the kicker. Just as he starts to question this desire, he's already been pulled too deep into their world. He's changed, and he's changed profoundly, and in this sense, literally. The Lost Boys, in their quest to escape the uncertainties of life, embraced immortality without a second thought. They traded in their mortal worries for eternal existence, never once looking back to reflect on what they left behind. It's a reflection of a very human tendency, the desire to escape pain and fear and the unknown. But as they say, the grass isn't always greener on the other side, and that's the crux of The Lost Boys. It's an exploration of choices, belonging, and a haunting realization that once you've committed, reversing the course becomes nearly impossible. So, when you look beneath the glam and the fangs, The Lost Boys delves into something that's universal. It's about the choices we make to escape our insecurities, the allure of a carefree existence, and the consequences of turning away from the core of our humanity. And in a world that often tries to box us in, it's a reminder that belonging isn't just about fitting in. It's about finding the courage to stay true to ourselves, fangs and all. Thank you all so much for watching, and I hope that you enjoyed this breakdown of The Lost Boys. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe, and if you'd like to see more videos like this, then check out the All Titles playlist. I've covered quite a few other movies that have to do with vampires, and some of them have been my all-time favorites, so I'm sure there's something out there that you'll enjoy. But until next time, stay safe out there, and happy watching. Bye-bye!
Hey, Kiefer, you're a pirate, man.
That would explain everything.
Come on.